the Beretta M1934C pistol. I guess that's the designation on it. Alright, but before we start with this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to go the extra mile, become a member and help support the channel so I can fund these little projects and keep bringing you this content. Alright, so these pistols have been out on the market for a few years now, and I think they're getting down to the bottom of the barrel. This particular gun I bought from, and they had a sale on them, $199.99 units, and you know, half a C note to get it, shipping, handling, sales tax, and my transfer dealer. So it all come out to about $3.50 for the body to get it in my hand, which isn't bad. I've seen a lot of these sell for, you know, $3.50, and you're going to have to add that half a C note. So, you know, you were looking in the $400 price range. But what do we get? I bought one of these, and then we'll get into why I got it and why I waited. It comes in wrapped in paper. And in the box you get a sticker, lock, and then this little QR code that takes you to the manual, which that seems to be a popular thing now. A lot of manuals are being downloaded on PDF files. And here we have the gun. We'll put it here on this to help you see it a little, and we'll zoom in. Now, the story on these pistols, they're not that uncommonly rare, but this particular batch, this handgun was issued to the Italian Army until they replaced it with the Beretta 92. Okay, it's it's a 380 automatic single stack. And it was designed, like it says, in 1934. They're kind of common. A lot of them came into the country prior to the 1968 gun laws that all changed. So there's a lot of the older World War II ones around. But this particular gun, and the reason they had these threads on the barrel and all that, I'm not going to talk about the firearm, the history of it. I'm going to talk about these guns that came in this batch that had these weird things on the end of the barrel and were modified, and why it was done. Okay? Back in 1968, they had something called the Saturday Night Special Act. And what they did is to import a handgun, they have a criteria, which is barrel length, size. I don't know if magazine capacity was part of it, but there's a criteria to where this gun will be considered a Saturday Night Special, or it didn't get the points. There's so many points given for the barrel length. That's why, like, Star made a lot of pistols, be it 22s and that. That's, you know, Star would make guns, and they put like target grips with a thumb rest, that added a point. Adjustable sights, that added another point to make it like a target gun other than a Saturday Night Special is what the law was. I'm not quite sure what the law was. So these guns could not be imported. Obviously this gun is just shy of that criteria, okay, because of its overall size and that. The Walther PPK, which before 1968, I believe, could be imported, but it falls short, and that's why we have the Walther PPKS, is where they built a PP slide on a PPK slide on a PP frame, which is bigger, has, you know, a longer length and another magazine capacity. Now the only way to circumvent this like with this wonderful Beretta 950 BB in 22 short. As you see, this gun obviously does not fit the criteria, but Beretta was a big enough company. It built a factory here in the U.S. This gun was made in the U.S. That's why PPKs are available to us nowadays, is somebody built a factory and they're being manufactured in the USA. Okay, so that is an importation law. So, when these guns came in, the story behind this batch of guns, these were issued and these were manufactured until the 1990s, and actually by some military personnel these guns were carried well into the 90s. Okay, this one particular one was 1972, so a lot of them are 72, so it must have been a contract to somebody. And some of these dates go to the 60s, whatever. So you got variations here. But they must have kept these guns in reserve, then phased them out, sold them on the surplus market. So now they hit the market in Europe, which Europe is pretty restrictive on handguns. And so you got to get them into the U.S. market. The thing here says Switzerland on the import mark. Palm Bay, Florida, Ronix, Beretta, Switzerland. So some people said Switzerland, some people said Germany, but what they had to do to get these guns in the country was to do the size requirement. They had to thread the end of these barrels, and they threaded them with an unusual thread. Suppressor thread is 1/2 inch 28. These are 1/2 inch 20, which is a coarse thread. So they did that because that way, even if you removed, and I think there were fake suppressors, soldered on, they were permanently attached also. They had to be permanently attached, and then this tube, just a piece of tube with no insides to it, the fake suppressor, was permanently attached. The guns could be brought in. They didn't sell quite well with the fake suppressors attached, so somebody had to go and tear them off. Now this created an issue because, as you see here on this, they say a set screw. Maybe there's a notch cut, and then what they did is use high temperature solder to attach the fake suppressor onto the gun. And that permanently put it on there, but then again, removing the fake suppressor and getting it off, I think damaged a lot of barrels. Some may have been salvageable, like this one, and we will look at this closer. But this is the story behind it. So, alright, so now you got a batch of these really neat, older, surplus type guns, milsurp guns, and they're screwed up. And so how these were marketed and sold, they come in 3, maybe 4 different ways, okay? Number one, you buy the gun with the threads on the barrel, and this one, the muzzle isn't too bad, and we'll do some comparisons and check these out. You could buy them like that. Then you could buy them with a brand new US made barrel inside the gun. Now, they come 2 ways, just with the barrel, and that's where I got these pulled off barrels, because I believe one company also sold them with a brand new US barrel installed and would put this pull off in the box. Now, when that company had a pile of them, basically Imperial Feline, because they still have these on their website, but they don't. They used to sell the barrels too, the new barrels, but they don't have them no more. There's another company that will buy en masse a bunch of their stuff and sell it on their website, and a lot of the rifles and that show up there. And then they had these pull-offs, and I got 2 of them for experimental purposes, to look at it, see how the interchangeability of these barrels are with this gun, okay? So I got 2 of these, 25 bucks a piece, all right? So we're going to get to that later. So you could get it with the new barrel, just the new barrel alone, get it with the new barrel and the pull-off barrel, or our guns, which this was a few years ago. All the posts I seen about it were from about 2022 and that. Our guns sold these where they machined that threaded part off the end of the barrel and more or less made it flush. So I've seen a couple guys that have these guns and the barrel has been cut back flush to the slide. Nothing protrudes. Now, when it comes to shooting the guns, the reason I held off is I was going to get one with a new US barrel. But the 2 fellows I've seen that fire them, there's actually 3, but I'll go into that. The 2 of them that just bought the new barrel, didn't have the old barrel, whenever they fired the guns, the sights were way up. The bullet impact was either going way low, way high or something, and they had a hard time trying to hit anything at like 15, 20 yards or something. So there's something about these replacement barrels, and I think what it is a gun of this age, what people don't realize, there was a lot of hand fitting into getting the gun to work. And it's not the CNC world or today where you got a blueprint, you just make a barrel and it's going to drop in. That don't work. Okay, and I kind of proved it with these pullouts, but I'll explain that in another video. So people have had issues, so I backed off when I seen that. I've seen people take these with the barrel with the threads on and shoot them, and it does all right. Okay, in most instances. There's a few that do it, and I've never seen anybody that had the threaded barrel have any issues, or at least they didn't make a video showing it. Now, one guy had the threaded barrel and he had a new barrel together. He had the 2 of them together in the box. He got both. When he put the threaded barrel in that was, boogered up and that, he'd fire the gun, he'd be able to hit something. He put the new barrel in and shoved it in there, and he was getting misfeeds and he had all kinds of problems. The gun didn't function well. So he took the new barrel out, put the one that came, like this one here, that's been threaded, and fine. Now, our guns, I don't believe any of these guns are for sale. I looked around online and I have not found any available or easy to find where the barrels have been cut flush. I've seen a couple videos where fellows have these guns that the barrels were shortened and recrowned and they shoot good, and they were from our guns. Okay, but like I said, I don't see these guns available for sale. They must have got a batch of them, said, you know what, let's just go shorten them, recrown them, touch up the blue, and sell them. So those are the different variations. So now we know how they got here and why this happened and that. And so what I intend to do, and I'm looking at this 652, mine also has a label on there, 652. So it must have been like a rack number or however they stored these guns. And when you would go out on patrol or something, you'd sign out a weapon to do your shift or whatever, your watch, and they would just on the paperwork, you'd say, I signed out 652 on your log sheet, and they know you had that gun. So that's pretty interesting too. And actually, this firearm is in pretty good condition. It's better than what I expected. Okay, some people have got them with a cracked grip. Some people have got them with rusted bores. This gun, 72, and it is in fairly, just a couple scuffs on the finish, light ones. But this gun is in very good shape, so I'm happy. So my question is, the condition of these barrels, and we'll look at this one. It's better than what I thought it was. We'll look at these pull-offs, and these have some issues, and I'm going to try to figure out if these are actually safe to use or if we're going to have to try to shorten them up. And I'm going to see about the interchangeability of these barrels into this pistol. Okay, which there's some question. So that's what we intend to do. And basically getting into the nitty gritty, we got to go out onto the bench and do that. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for some more developments.